evening. I hope you found that film as informative and powerful as I did. I'm joined now by the director of the film, Clara Rubio, and by Stella Assange. And we hope to be joined by Apsana Begum, who's currently in the middle of a series of votes in the House of Commons, but will be on her way as soon as the whips allow her out. Just to start off the discussion, I'd like to first of all ask Clara about the making of the film, really. What got you to be so committed to this cause that you put what must have been enormous amounts of work into making the film?
So, thank you for being here. It's really amazing to see these films being screened in London. So I was making some pictures from there because it's really amazing. Yes, we started 2013, and actually at the beginning we wanted to make a film about the lawyer, about Baltasar Garzón. I'm Spanish, and Baltasar Garzón, as you saw in the film, he was a renowned lawyer and he just had been suspended. So we wanted to make a film about him. So we went to his village in south of Spain, where my family comes from also, and spoke to him and told him we wanted to make a film about him. And that was July 2014, I think, or 13, I don't remember. So, and in this time, it just came out, or he just accepted to be the lawyer of Julian Assange and WikiLeaks. So, a lot of press came, and then we thought, okay, so maybe that's a sign. So we will start, because we cannot make a film about everything he does, so maybe we will concentrate in this case. So when we started filming, we really didn't know anything about WikiLeaks and Julian Assange. We really didn't know anything but what we read in the press. But we thought, okay, that's very strange. We are reading these things about Sweden, and then you have Baltasar Garzón and many other human rights lawyers defending him. So this must be something bigger. And then we just started with a lot of curiosity. We thought in 1 year we were going to be finished with the film because we were sure the case would be solved in 1 year. But we were like 8 years or so making the film after the beginning.
And Stella, the film ends. I mean, it's an amazing thing to think that the film ended at the point where the magistrates' court had said that Julian shouldn't be extradited. It's astounding how much happens in this case in such a short period of time, as well as how long the case has been going on. So, do you want to just say a bit about what's been happening since the end of this film?
Sure. Just to give people a time scale. So Julian lost his freedom on the 7th of December 2010, and he went into prison for 7 days, and then house arrest for a year and a half, and then he was in the Ecuadorian embassy for 7 years, and now he's been in Belmarsh prison for over 3 years. This film ends in January 2021, and this is the last time that Julian was able to go to court in person, because since then, every time he's had a hearing and he's requested to go in person, it's been denied. He was arrested on the 11th of April 2019, and he's been in Belmarsh High Security Prison ever since. Belmarsh is, it's in southeast London. It's sort of far away from everything. I find anywhere I am in London, it's about an hour and a half from there. It's just out in more, I don't know. Yeah, it's really difficult to get to. And so there was an appeal by the U.S. and basically what happened was the U.S. lost, as you saw, and there was a political intervention. Basically, the U.S. having lost, then pulled the political card and issued what it called assurances, which were anything but assurances about prison conditions. And outrageously, the High Court ruled that those were sufficient to change the outcome. And it's absurd because the High Court accepted all the medical evidence. It all stands that if he's placed in extreme isolation, he will be driven to take his own life. It doesn't. The High Court has accepted all that evidence. It's agreed with the magistrate that the conclusions were sound. But it says that it accepts the assurances are address this problem, and they obviously don't. Because the assurances themselves, without getting too technical, like the wording of the assurances themselves, literally say that the U.S. government reserves the right to impose those very same conditions that will kill him. So it's really scandalous and completely incomprehensible that the High Court allowed this to go forward. But as I said, basically what it is a political intervention, a deference to that political intervention. And now there's an extradition order that has been issued. The matter is before Priti Patel, the Home Secretary. The Home Secretary has the discretion to block this extradition. And there's a lot of pressure from civil society groups and press freedom groups for her to do so. Probably the most heavyweight intervention publicly that we know came today from the Human Rights Commissioner of the Council of Europe, urging Priti Patel to block it. There's been huge mobilization all over Europe, in many countries, and 1,800 journalists have written themselves to Priti Patel an open letter saying that this case should be blocked because it affects their safety because of the implications for global press freedom. And the Reporters Without Borders has had a petition going into the Home Secretary today, and in 8 different countries, going to the British Embassy to give this petition 65,000 signatures for this petition alone. In Australia, there's a petition 700,000 signatures. 1% of the entire Australian population has signed that petition. 250,000 of those signatures are from Australians. And there's a lot of pressure for Julian to be extradited, but there's a lot of pressure in the opposite direction as well.
Okay, thank you. We'll come to the audience Q&A in just a minute. Just a couple more questions though. Clara, one of the reasons why a kind of group of us got together to try and get the film put on in London, and I'd like to say thanks very much to the Curzon Cinema for accepting the booking, because that wasn't straightforward either. Clara, one of the reasons we did it is because we've heard about the reception that the film was getting elsewhere. So could you just give us kind of a picture of what's happened to the film since it's been released?
Yeah, the film was shown in European televisions, in the German television. Well, it's actually a production of the German television, the Belgian television, and the French-Swiss television. Yep. So it was broadcasted in public televisions. And then the Italian public television showed it also. And we have been in festivals, and in France it was really amazing. It was in 80 cities. It was in the cinemas. So it went very well. And it was presented to the MP people of France in the National Assembly, and it was, I think it was screened there.
And and we'll be working to get it put on in more cinemas in this country. And of course, you can play a role in that. You can approach your local cinema. You can talk to them about whether or not they'll put on a showing of it. You can indeed get copies of it and put showings on yourself. So we've done this really as a kind of springboard to a wider distribution of the film. And I guess that brings me to the question to you, Stella. How important do you think it is that pieces like this, not just films, but the Anything to Say statue, the kind of cultural interventions in the campaign are?
It's incredibly important because, I mean, this film is like any filmmaker's dream, like, to have it organically just spread. And Julian's case has extraordinary popular appeal, and that's always been attempted to be suppressed since 2010. What you see now with what PayPal has been doing in relation to independent media, Consortium news, and mid-press, for example, they started 12 years ago. The first time it's completely unprecedented against WikiLeaks. In 2010, when WikiLeaks was publishing the Iraq and Afghanistan cables, and as soon as the State Department cables started being published, there was an unprecedented financial blockade against WikiLeaks. And that was an attempt at censorship because of this incredible popular appeal that WikiLeaks has and had. At the time, the average donation that was coming in was, I think, $15, and WikiLeaks was making something like, I think, around this time of publication, $100,000 a day in donations. So that got cut off immediately by PayPal when they saw, the popular appeal. And another sign of this came a couple of months ago in the crypto world. There was a fundraiser, basically, anyway, without using the crypto jargon, a kind of like a cooperative got together of investors to raise, to be able to bid in a charity auction for Julian. And in 6 days, over 10,000 people got together and raised $50 million. And that's money for his legal appeal, legal cases. So the support is there, but there's also this incredible narrative. One of the things I see on Twitter with these followers with just one, these accounts with one follower created this month is nobody cares. It matters so much to them to get that message out because they know that the opposite is true and that has to be suppressed. Sorry, what was the question? Oh yeah, the cultural impact. Yeah, because what we find is that the more ignorant people are about the case, the less sympathetic they are. So the big job I have, and people who are fighting for Julian's freedom have, is to tell the story. Because it goes to the fundamentals. You don't need to, convince people. You just need to show them what's happened. And yeah.
I want to follow her words because when we were starting making this film, we had to choose, okay, are we going to make an interview film or what kind of film are we going to do? And relative at the beginning, we said, okay, we are just going to follow our characters. We just stay there and just be witness of what we are seeing. And of course, you always have the question, okay, but actually I should go to Sweden and interview the women, and I should go to the police station and interview. But we said no, we stay just with our protagonist because this is a story that is not being told anywhere. So we just stay here, and now I'm so happy we did that because we really, after all these years, we just are the public. When we see the film, we are just there with them, and this story would have never been told if we weren't in there, just year after year, just with the camera. So
Thank you.
I think this has a value just to be like a testimony to be there, not more.